If you want to set up and monitor the statistics of your website and see who is actually visiting your site and what they're doing when they get there, which pages people are landing on. So all of the statistics you can find under the web stats and logs section. So if we scroll down, you can see here you have a few tools. You have the Piwik, the TraceWatch, and Webalizer, also Google, and a couple of others here. Now, most of these are actually scripts, and they're classified as software which need to be installed. However, this one option here, which is the bandwidth statistics, just shows you very basic information about what's been happening over the course of a period of time through your website. As you can see here, in the last 24 hours, I've had a little bit of traffic at them times of days. Over the last 31 days, and there's a reflection of what's been happening over the last 12 months. It seems as though September, October, November was quite a busy time in 2012. You can see here from the tables of the past 24 hours that not a lot of activity's been going on. Over the last 30 days, the last month, not a lot there. However, over the last 12 months, I've been quite busy, with October being one of the busiest months in terms of traffic. I must have done some sort of an update there, which caused quite a bit of traffic to be directed to my site. So that's the basic overview of the bandwidth statistics. However, if you want a bit more in-depth information, which gives you a broader overview of who's been visiting and what they've been doing, then you'll want to use something like Piwik or TraceWatch. Now, I already have TraceWatch installed on my site, so what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you how to install a Piwik, and everything else is installed pretty much the same as that. So if we click on the Piwik tool, this is more extensible, the Piwik. It actually shows you more information than any of the others. And what we'll need to do, it's asking here to choose an installation directory. Now, obviously it's going into your public HTML folder, which is where all of your websites are stored. And what we want to do is create a separate directory for it. I'm going to call this directory Piwik, so that I know what it is. And I'm just going to click on install. Once it starts installing, you'll actually need to configure it. So it says your installation is complete. However, now you need to configure the script that's been installed. It says that it's been installed to that web address. You can access it from either that web address, or you can access it from that web address. So if you simply just copy and paste one of these links into your browser, it will take you straight there. So we just copy that, open a new tab, and we'll paste that into here. Okay, so when you first visit this site, it will expect you to configure the software and install it. As you can see here, the installation status is at 0, so you will need to do that. The first step is just giving you a bit of information about the software and saying that it only takes a few steps to set it up. So we'll continue on with the installation, and the next step is actually a system check. As long as all of these arrows here are green, then that indicates that all of your services, extensions and functions are all working correctly on the website. If you have any red crosses, then it may be that your server's not set up correctly, and you'll need to get in touch with support for further assistance. So we'll continue on now that everything is green. That's fine. So we'll go next. Now this part is asking to set up a database. So it's actually going to use up one of your SQL databases when you install this. Now, for the purpose of the tutorial, what I would suggest is not to mess about with any of the settings and leave it as it is, all default as you see it on screen. So we'll just we'll click on next and leave everything as default. That's great news. Our tables have been created. We'll continue on. And now you need to set up a username. So when you actually come to check your statistics, you'll need to log in, and this is where you set up the username that you use to log in. So our super user will be called dmomo. Our password, we'll keep that as dmomo. And my email address was my admin@dmomo.co.uk. I don't particularly want to be notified about upgrades and updates because I won't be leaving this on. So I'm going to remove this software afterwards, so I'm not going to bother with that. Then I'll continue on. And now what we need to do is to set up the analyzing tool on which website you want to monitor. Now, in previous tutorials, I've used my shop. So what I'll do is I'll stick to using my shop. So my website name is going to be dmomo's shop. And the website itself is located at dmomo.co.uk/shop. So I want to actually monitor any bandwidth that's traveling through my shop. It's not an e-commerce site because I don't actually sell anything. And now I'll click next. Okay, so I've now got a confirmation that that's been installed. And now it brings me to a login page. So the username we set up previously, which was dmomo, and the password again was dmomo. So we'll continue on to log in. And that will bring us to our generated statistics page. Now, as you can see, I've only just installed this software, so there's not currently any stats which you can look at. It generally will take a week or so to generate any information. However, if you do have a busy site, it may only take 24 to 48 hours before you start actually populating some information in these boxes. It's a very extensible piece of software, this Piwik, because you can do an awful lot with it. You can look at the visitors that you've had. You can look at what your visitors are doing, how they got to your site, how they go leaving your site, how long they stay there for, where they got referred from, whether they came from Google or whether it was another search engine, and basically what people were actually doing while they were there. So the goals of the user, whether they were actually wanting to buy a product or they were just looking for some information. Now, as I say, there's no information generated at the moment because it has only just been installed. What you can also do with this is configure some of the settings. Nope, it seems to be taking quite a long time. Right, there we go. So we're in settings now. Now, in the settings page, what you can do is you can change a lot of these settings. It's very extensible. There's lots of options, so you can configure that however you want. Obviously, you can add users if you want other people to check on your stats. You can tell the software to monitor other websites. So at the moment, it's just monitoring my shop. If I wanted it to monitor my main site, dmomo's main site, and then we'll just put the URL in for that, which is www.dmomo.co.uk. So we wanted to monitor my main site as well as my shop. Then we'll save them changes, and as you can see now, it's monitoring not just my main site but my shop as well. So I can now look at individual statistics for individual pages. Has a lot of general settings that you can mess about with, and it also has plugins that you can increase the functionality of the software. So you can you can install any one of these plugins, extra dashboard features, extra just lots of extra add-ins, search engine optimization. So you might want to play around with some of these add-ins. For the moment, what I'm going to do, I'm going to sign out of Piwiki. Now, if you want to get rid of Piwiki, what you need to do is you need to do two things. So firstly, we'll come back to our home directory, and then we'll go into our file manager, And from our public HTML folder, which is where all our websites are saved, you should have a folder in there for Piwik now. That's where I installed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that folder. But what you have to remember is Piwik actually had a database behind the scenes as well. So once we've removed the actual folder from the folder structure, what you also need to do is remove the database. So we can do that by going back to the home on the cPanel to MySQL databases, and then you can see you have a Piwik database here. So we just simply select the delete option, modify it, and that's that software now being removed from the system. Now, the other software that you can use to analyze traffic and information of statistics is this TraceWatch. Now, I've previously installed that into a folder in my file manager, into my public HTML, and it's in a folder called stats. So if I now go to my main domain, dmomo.co.uk, and then do a / and type in the word stats, that will open up the software. Now, this software doesn't have a username or password. You should be able to just type in the folder name and it will take you straight to it. As you can see, I've had this in operation for quite some time, so there is some statistics that have been populated. It gives you a main overview of what's been happening over the last 12 months. However, if you want to do a breakdown for individual months, say for instance March was quite a busy period, we can click on March, and at the top here you have different views for different statistics. So daily, hourly, which URLs people have been coming to your site through, how they got to your site, how they left your site, what they were doing there, how they got referred, and various different things such as which countries, which types of clients, which browsers. So if we have a quick look through, as you can see, over March I've actually had 3,000 visits, but not all of them will be human beings. As you can see, the total number of unique visits is probably around about 113, and you can discern quite a lot of information from these graphs. As you can see here, one of my top where the top people have been visiting, the top URLs that people want to look at. So people use my downloads, and as you can see, it just shows you an awful lot of information. Let's have a look. So top referrers, as you can see here, my number one top referrer is actually direct requests. So that's people just typing in directly the URL for my website. So rather than being referred from Google or a search engine, most of my visitors, 36% of them, or 33.6%, have actually directly typed in the URL they want to go to. As you can see here, I've had a few visits from different places: the UK, China, Lithuania, Russia, and the Ukraine. So that's how you actually manipulate and look at the stats on your website.